How do you know what the perfect disc is? In today's episode, the Chain Clankers sit down with Chris Duderin, owner of Ducks Flying Discs here in Wichita, Kansas, and he shows us how disc golf has evolved from the 1980s now to the 2020s. He goes on a journey with us of how he went from a top-tier pro-level player all the way now to a very successful businessman and entrepreneur inside the sport of disc golf. Chris shares with us how he has been able to build up his brand, how he's been able to build up his companies, and ensure that the people who shop with him are getting the best information about the disc that they're buying and make sure that they have the right disc in their hand, getting that perfect disc right there in their hand every single time. We ask him how he was able to expand, how his risk philosophy is, and so many other business-like questions. If you've all ever been interested in the business side behind disc golf and disc golf realtors, this is a fantastic episode to learn a lot from. And maybe you don't care about all that business stuff. This is still a great episode because we talk about what disc you should be throwing, how much discs you should have in your bag, what kind of molds, how to limit them, as well as we hear some awesome advice for when you're playing doubles and why this one simple thing could give you and your partner even more confidence to allow you to win more of your doubles matches. This is a fantastic episode. Thank you so much to Ducks Flying Discs and Chris for allowing us to do this episode. It was so much fun. And I also wanted to say, before we get going, thank you, the listener, so much. I literally cannot thank you enough. When we started the Chain Clankers brand and podcast, I never would have thought that here, almost 2 years later, we would be sitting at 100 podcast episodes. This is episode 100. This is a very special episode to myself and the Clanker family, and we literally could not be here without you. We cannot be here without your support, without everything that you guys have done for us, all the interactions and all those things, and all the knowledge that we've shared and learned together. I hope if you've been with us since episode 1, your game has gotten better. If this is your first episode, we're going to have a ton great more episodes in the future. Things are looking up. We only want to get better from here and continue to strive for improvement. And we can't do that without you. Thank you guys so much for all that you've done for us. If you haven't, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/chainclankers. You can join us on a podcast. Next week's episode is going to be the first ever roundtable where we get our Eagle Club once a quarter and our Ace Club members once a month, and we do a podcast episode with them. So make sure you check that out. It's going to be so much fun. And like I said, if you want to be on that podcast, if you want access to the other awesome benefits over there, check it out. Patreon.com/chainclankers. We appreciate your support as it helps us keep the lights on and allows us to improve, get new equipment, get a new camera, increase what we do here. We've got some exciting news to come, but I can't share it right now because right now it's time to get into the episode with Ducks Flying Discs.
Hi, I'm Chris Duderin. I'm the owner of Ducks Flying Discs here in Wichita, Kansas, and I'm here for the Chain Clankers podcast. I really hope you enjoy it.
Alrighty, everyone, super excited to have Duck himself on the podcast. This has been a bucket list guest for us. Honestly, before I even came to Wichita in the first place, before I even moved down here, your name was one of the first that I heard. This brand was one of the first that I ever heard. Duck, how are we doing tonight, man?
Doing fantastic. Thank you for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, we are, like Quentin was saying, I'm relatively new to the disc golf scene. Wichita has been amazing. Ducks Flying Discs has always been the spot to, if you need a disc, that's where you go. So I'm ecstatic to have you on the show and can't wait to get talking.
Outstanding.
Yeah, so let's kind of start off with, let's get to know you a little bit more. How did you first get into disc golf? You know, what does disc golf kind of mean to you?
How did I get into disc golf? In about 1980X, I was playing Ultimate for the Wichita State Ultimate team as a high school student, and one of the guys came up to me and said, "Hey, would you like to come and play Frisbee golf with us?" Okay? And I said, "What is that?" And because Ultimate is running, jumping, throwing, and catching, I thought, man, this sounds kind of boring, quite honestly. And we went out there, we agreed upon a time, and I showed up and he didn't. And so I met one of the longtime guys from the what became the Air Capital Disc Golf Club and the Kansas Disc Golf Association, and bought my very first disc, which was an Amoeba Stingray, okay, and played my first round of golf. And that's how it all got started, from actual disc golf. Prior to that, every Frisbee player that we were playing together with played object courses with Ultra Stars or Midnight Flyers or any of the older versions of the disc, and we would throw at trees or mailboxes or light posts or things like that.
I've done my fair share of that, like even before disc golf, just playing baseball, taking a bat and a baseball and being like, yeah, boys, we're playing fungo golf today.
Right?
Yeah.
I hear you there. It's so awesome to hear the origin, or like, I guess it would be more of an origin type story of the game, just that we didn't always have the awesome chains and chain catchers or veterans or whatever Mach X's that we have now, and that the people that have been playing it for a long time have been throwing into random objects. It's awesome.
So then, you get out there for that very first round, you get your first disc. What was the hook for you? What made you decide after that first round, you know what, I'm going to come back, I'm going to do this again? Being a busy guy, I assume, what made you commit to being like, I'm going to go back, this is something I'm interested in? What was that hook for you?
I think that disc golfers in general all start with one throw. It happens across the board. For me, that very first hole of that very first round, I was playing with a guy who was really good at what was Frisbee golf at the time. And he told me about this, and we walked over to the first hole together, and I threw this disc and literally landed on the pole. On that next 17 holes, he beat me terribly. Okay? But that first hole, that very first throw with that first Amoeba Stingray, literally landed a foot away from the pole. And from that moment on, I had the bug. I had the absolute bug to, enjoy throwing disc golf discs at disc golf baskets.
Yeah, that's awesome. We've all been there, definitely. What was kind of the next step? So you had the bug. Kind of where did your journey then? From that day, you were obviously hooked. Where did you go next? I
literally bought more discs. By the way, this guy was selling discs out of his trunk. Just as a lot of guys do still at this day. I literally bought more discs from him and played every single day for quite some time. So once you get the bug in this game, to me it's pretty synonymous with ball golf. You hit one good shot and you can play for the rest of your life trying to emulate that. That's exactly how it felt for me. So in the next couple of months, I played and I played and I played, and then I played this thing called a tournament. And I thought, oh man, I'm getting pretty good. Nice. No, I wasn't getting good at all. I was terrible. Yeah. I probably got worse than last place in that first tournament. So
I 1,000%, that's kind of what happened to me. The very first tournament I played, I played against a couple of my buddies before. I was like, I'm pretty good at this little game we have here. Right? Go out to the tournament, and I got my butt handed to me. It was not good. And I asked this question to Juliana Corver on a prior episode because she had mentioned the very first time she saw somebody throw, she's picking on them, and then they absolutely laced this line and it almost went in for an ace. So the question is, if that first throw is not good, if you don't put it where you put it, let's say it goes 20 feet in the air and then just dive bombs left, it's a horrible throw, like most people's first throw.
Right.
Do you still continue to play disc golf?
I would imagine that I loved all 18 holes.
Okay.
So if that had happened, if I had thrown a bad first shot, I think I probably still love the game. I still love this game to this day. I've been playing over 30 years, and I still just love looking at new discs. I go into our own shop and look at the new discs and go, wow, this one's really good looking, or this feels great in my hand. So do I think that bug would have not been there? No, that bug is there. Yes. And I mean, for those of us who enjoy, disc sports of any kind, it's really just cool.
Like you just said, you still love getting out and playing and seeing all the new plastic. What has been the main driving thing besides that? Like, is it the flight of the disc? Do you love to see the amazing shots? Do you love to see new people come to play? Do you love to see what is it that has continued to drive you for the last 30 years?
That has changed over time. Okay. In the beginning, I'm a hyper competitive person. Mm-hmm. In the very beginning, I wanted to win every single throw. I wanted to win every single event I went to. I would practice and I would, do the things necessary to, build my game. So in the beginning, it was my drive to compete and to win. As I've gotten older, it has been more of sharing that love of this game with newer players, junior players, and just as we were discussing on the side, right. I really, really like the over 55 crowd that's really taken on the game since COVID has started.
How did you go from, I guess like you're obviously an entrepreneur, you've started this incredible brand, you've got 3 locations open right now. Can you maybe walk me through how you went from being a top level pro player to getting more into the entrepreneurial side of disc golf? Like, was there a certain tournament that made you be like, you know what, maybe I'd have more success if I sold discs instead of playing disc golf? How did that come to be? That's a huge leap to make, especially, and now I think it's significantly easier because of the COVID bump, because of how many more people are playing disc golf.
Right.
It's so much easier to get into it now, in a sense, because there's more customers. Right. But back then, like when did you, let's start here, when did you first start your brand and why?
The brand is actually my nickname. Okay, and so my nickname was given to me by a friend of mine named Paul Chrisman in high school. It had nothing to do with disc golf to start with, okay? It was just because he gave me this nickname. He christened me back then. This carried forward to years and years of playing. In 2013, there was a local shop here in town. And at the time, they were kind of transitioning out of being into this, and I wasn't able to get the discs that I was looking to get. So, I kind of thought to myself, hey, I can do a good job at this. I think I could take this on. Absolutely no training in business whatsoever. Really? Okay. Just thought, I've read a book before. I think I can do this, right? And I knew what I wanted to be able to buy. Okay, as a professional player, if you have no place but the internet to buy what you want, you can't touch it. You can't get the right weight. You can't see the color that you want in front of you. I always tell people who are potentially going into the world of disc golf retail that you really kind of own a shoe store. Okay, you can't just have one Enforcer, Destroyer, Buzz OS, or anything like that. You have to have multiple weights, you have to have multiple colors, you have to have, your inventory has to be strong enough to be able to service those guys who have specific needs, okay? So I said, well, we can do that. And it kind of organically grew from there, okay? We always wanted to produce high-end events, and we always wanted to produce the opportunity for players who of all skill levels could come into the store and be part of the family. And the one thing that I'm most proud of is that our staff, the flock here at Ducks, treats everybody like family, okay? You walk in the door, you may have no days under your belt, you may be as old as I am, and you have all the experience in the world, and no matter who you are, you're welcome to come and be a part of Ducks. So, those are the things that we really strive to do. So I hope that answered that question.
Yeah, I was going to say at the beginning, if people haven't figured it out, his shirt, there's a nice little duck on there. Towards the end of the story, we obviously know what it is. It's Ducks Flying Discs, but that was going to be my question. I was like, yeah, let's go ahead and let everyone who doesn't know, not from the Wichita area, because we got a lot of listeners, all you guys out there, not from around here. If you're ever in Wichita, Kansas City, look up Ducks Flying Discs and come in and check out all the amazing plastic they got to share. And who knows, maybe you'll see the man himself, Duck.
If you do, say hi. We'll go play some golf.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit. So you got started in the Riverside store, I believe, first.
Yes, the first store was at 816. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, 816 West 11th Street, and it was 400 square feet.
Jeez. That's
Okay.
got to be the size
That's
of
smaller
this
than the room that we're sitting in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Literally had less than 1,000 discs.
How many discs do you have now? 3,000?
More than 1,000. But we have quite a few. Between the 3 stores, we probably have somewhere between 20 and 30,000.
Okay.
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 You know, and that fluctuates depending upon, time of year and things like that. But you come into the store and there's a selection of everybody that we partner with on a manufacturer's level, and that we feel like the community wants to throw. Okay, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't take on new companies. That doesn't mean we're not willing to reach out to different bags or manufacturers of disc golf equipment. This is just where we sit today.
So this is a little off topic, but I don't want to forget this question.
Okay.
How do you handle that risk of holding 20 to 30,000 discs? What happens if tomorrow disc golf falls off a cliff? How do you obviously none of us here want that to happen.
No.
but how do you handle that risk? How do you handle knowing, there's probably me, I'm going to see this enforcer, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, I can throw that enforcer.
Right.
I'm going to throw it 3 times, I'm never going to touch it again. What
Right.
happens if I'm like, you know what, I'm going to stop buying that. I don't need that. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to understand your risk philosophy, I guess.
We look at trends on what we've sold in the past, of course, and we try and build to those levels. And we look at the companies that are best served within our communities, and we work off of that level. And then we look at what's coming in that's new, what new items are coming out, and we try and do our best, overall guess of what the community is going to want of that. Now, what do we keep in stock, I think, is really more along the lines of what your question is. What we keep in stock is a matter of, I have a general manager who handles all of the operations here. Her name is Christina Hickey. For those of you who don't know her, her name is Mama Hickey. She is the best person to know in the city of Wichita disc golf, okay?
Yeah.
Absolutely can't give her enough accolades, all right? She and I talk at least daily about what we're doing for the next step to help with the growth of the stock, to help with whatever tournament we're assisting with, to help with the club, to help with all the things that we do that are behind the scenes that most people don't see. And so how do we relegate that fear of destruction? We just continue to try and move forward positively.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really all we can do. There are brands that have fluctuated. We've carried other brands in the past that we don't carry any longer. If they phase themselves out, whether it's because players aren't throwing them or anything like that, that's just kind of organic. It just kind of grows that way. There are discs from every single brand that we will always have in stock if they have it available. Yeah, I mean, the disc that always comes to mind for me is, of course, the Destroyer.
Yeah,
everybody wants a Destroyer, everybody wants a Star Destroyer, but that is not indigenous to Innova. Even though I have an affinity to them, of course, there is that disc with every single company.
Right.
And we do our very best to make sure that when you walk in our door, whether it's a Destroyer or some other disc, you have it available to you to put in your hand to make sure it's the right disc for you, as well as we coach our staff every single day on the right disc for the right players to make sure that they're not coming in here throwing away money. Okay? That's imperative.
Right.
Can you go into that more? What does that coaching look like?
Most of the time we don't hire people that haven't at least played the game a few times, but they have to have a certain passion to come on board here. If they don't exert that passion throughout and I'm not even talking about an interview process, it's just most of our prior employees also were prior customers. And they would come to us and go, hey, I'm looking for a job. Do you have anything? And we happen to have a slot at the time, and it would kind of work its way out. The education comes on a daily basis. If there's 10,000 discs in here, or 5,000 or 2,000, you got to get to know them. and you go and look at numbers and identify what that is. And if you don't know something about a disc, go over to the used bin and go out off of hole 1 here and throw it and see what it does for you, because you really have to be able to talk to those customers about what discs fly like for you.
I'm going to take it back. You said you had 3, or we talked about you having 3 stores. What kind of goes in? And you just opened the store in Kansas City.
That's correct.
And then you recently, within the last, 16, 18 months, you've opened this position in Clap?
This has only been open for about a year.
About a year?
Yeah.
I knew. I thought it was about a year, but I added 6 months.
It's just over a year.
What kind of goes into, we'll talk about Clap, I'm sure, a lot, but what kind of goes into, what makes you decide where you want to open? Or what locations are you looking for when you're trying to pick a location for a store? Well,
probably the most important thing is the number of players on the golf course that's closest to the location. Okay. There's a lot of places that you could put a store that would be great places for a store, but they don't have any foot traffic at the golf course. So you're not gonna be able to serve them as a pro shop if there's nobody at the golf course.
Right.
So that's the first thing we look at. Okay. The second thing we look at is the likability of that golf course. Mm-hmm. So let's take Waterworks for example. Yeah. You guys have both played Waterworks?
Once.
Once? It's an incredible golf course, right?
Very good.
Okay.
Yes.
When you go to Waterworks in Kansas City, by the way, for anybody who hasn't been there, put this on your bucket list when you're in Kansas City. Of course, we want you to stop by the shop, but more importantly, we want you to go to Waterworks Golf Course because it's a true destination golf course. Okay. When you go to that golf course, you're going to play 18 holes, and you're going to be, when you're done, first of all, you're going to be tired because it's very hilly. But second of all, you're going to say that was an experience. That's important to us. If you're playing 18 holes of 310-foot golf with no trees, no water, no wind, no anything, it's pretty boring.
Yeah.
Okay. So we want to be a part of a great experience for you. So those are the 2 real defining factors. Okay, golf course that has plenty of players and the true draw of that golf course. So,
and I mean, let's talk about this golf course right now. For those who don't know, we're sitting in your shop right now here at the Clap course. Mm-hmm. How did this become? I mean, wasn't this an abandoned ball golf course?
Well, yeah,
take me through.
It kind of went through that. Okay, so a couple of years ago, long before we were ever in here, the city of Wichita and I began conversation about how we could turn this into an attraction for disc golf. Okay, the building itself is about 1,300 square feet on the upper level. We have a basement downstairs for back storage and storage of larger items, and we kind of left it at that. At the time, it was still a running golf course. We ran the Keeper of the Chains here 1 year, and it seemed to work really well. And then the city didn't close the golf course right away. Mm-hmm. After which, they did close the golf course, and at that time, they got in touch with me and asked if I was still interested in potentially coming in here. At that time, the building had been abandoned for a year. Okay? We said, of course, we're very interested in that. If we can make modifications to the golf course, if we can move towards, building this into a true attraction, okay, they were receptive to that. So now this huge plot of land, which is a ball golf course, will eventually be a 36-hole destination golf course. Nice. Okay, yeah. And the city is very excited about that, and we on our end are very excited about that as well. So. Does that answer?
I mean, yeah. Okay. Right now it's an 18-hole course.
Right.
With 18 layouts.
Yeah.
Yes,
it does have multiple layouts every single time.
Yes.
What we're going to do is, the plan is to put 18 holes on the east side with multiple tee placements. Okay. So when hopefully, kind of in the feel of a ball golf course. If you're going to play the black tees, and you can also play with somebody playing from the red tees.
Right.
Okay. Our goal is to turn this into a true destination for the city of Wichita.
How do you go about designing the course. Let's start with initially, how were these 18 baskets? How did you decide to put those out there, or whomever did?
This was a course designed by Bill Paulson originally, and the current situation is that it was designed to coincide with a ball golf course. So that's kind of the layout of. There's lots of long holes with wide open fairways and things like that. The next phase of this has been that we redesigned more of a disc golf course on a ball golf course and have put it out there for submission to our local club and to the city, which both approved. And it's a really interesting disc golf design now.
That'll be very interesting to see, because I don't want to talk too much about Pro Tour level, but disc golf courses on ball golf courses, they kind of always, like you said, interlay within, so like you can still play golf, golf, ball, whatever you want to call it. What is
ball golf?
You guys on YouTube, what do we call golf with a ball? Do we call it ball golf? Do we call it golf?
I've always called it ball golf.
Okay.
So
there we go.
Anyways, so that'll be very interesting to see, and I can't wait for that. So I'm very happy we're in this beautiful city to do that. But what was it? 6 to 8 months ago or so, you were asking the community actually for some layout designs. Could you kind of go over that and kind of, you don't have to give us any details if anybody was selected or anything.
No. What happened was we only received really 2 other overall views of this. And so what we did was we sat down with those individuals and we kind of worked through what we are going to do on the east side and kind of how that flow is going to go and how it would best lay out. And then we're also looking at how it would go on the west side. Now, this is all contingent upon the city's overall plans, because they still have a master plan that's going to come into play, and eventually we'll probably have to adjust the golf courses accordingly, which is just fine. We are also considering working with a major designer, John Houck, in the future, once all of these master plan items get done, to have him come in and design a John Houck course here. So,
gotcha. What's kind of the timeline on turning this from an 18 to a 36? Do you have any goals for when you want that done?
August 6th and 7th.
For
the keeper.
Well, there we go. You did the pivot for me.
There's your pivot.
Let's talk about the keeper of the chain.
Okay.
Last year, it was out here for one round. It was also at Oak for one round, and it was at Cessna for one round.
That's correct.
So what is the layout going to be like for this year's keeper? And for those who aren't sure what the keeper is, maybe let's give an explanation of what it is and how it started.
The keeper of the chains is Wichita, and to that extent, minus the Glassblown / DD Open, the biggest tournament in the state of Kansas. This year we've made room for 288 players to come in and play a professional level A tier and amateur level C tier event, because of the new changes in the PDGA that if you're a B tier event, you have to be a PDGA member. So we chose to keep that as a C tier so everybody could still play. Okay. All right. The tournament is this year's its 10th year. Okay. And every single year we try and strive to offer a extremely high level event to people who maybe can't travel outside of the region. Okay. So if you've never played an A tier event and you live in the Wichita area somewhere, you should consider it, because just as you and I were talking about earlier, each year we strive to give a players pack for the amateurs that's around $200, retail value to each person, and overpay the pros so that they're happy as well. So we're on pace to absolutely meet that. We'll be playing 2 different golf courses here at Clapp. We will
Two different layouts?
2 different layouts. Okay. We'll be playing the east and the west.
Okay.
And we'll also be playing Cessna Park, and we'll also be playing at Oak. It depends on what pool you're in, to which level.
4 rounds?
It'll be 3 rounds.
Okay.
2 on Saturday, and then tee times on Sunday.
Nice.
Okay. We have a Saturday night players party that is just incredible. We'll have some events, some field events there, and that they will be really moving forward to really enhancing the player's experience. That's the most important part. And then as far as the event itself, it is also a women's global event this year. So for those women out there that are listening right now, get signed up because we will have the women's global event as part of the 2022 Keeper of the Chains.
Nice.
That's awesome.
That's really awesome. And I mean, it's one of those things where if you're in OKC, you're what, 2.5 hours away, if that.
Tulsa, Kansas City,
Omaha.
yeah.
Even if you're in Colorado Springs, it's 9 hours. But I
Right.
mean, for this kind of event, it's worth it. I mean, I've played in plenty of tournaments where your players pack is like, here you go, here's his hat, or you know, it's not, you're really not getting any value out of it. You have to cash to get more value out of it. And I played it last year, and I think I did play it the year before. Yeah, I've played it the last 2 years, and yes, the value you get out of it is so much more than I think a regular tournament. And there's just a different feel because the first time we played it, or that I played it, I guess, I want to say there were tee times every single round, which was really cool. Maybe not. Maybe I just remember the last round, but it was cool because I've never had that experience before.
Right.
So I feel like it's a tournament where you're getting the experience of being at that upper echelon A-tier Pro Tour event, and you can still compete and you can still see these new courses and you can have fun, and you don't have to have that stress of feeling like you have to throw the perfect shot every single time.
Right.
I don't know. I'm a big fan of it.
All right, so where can we go to sign up for this event?
The best place to go is online, okay? Disc Golf United, you can go there and just find, and across the top, there's a scrolling position, you know, one of the scroll bars that you can go over, and it says Ducks Events. And if you click on that, it'll say Keeper of the Chains, 2022 Keeper of the Chains. So that's the best place to go, Disc Golf United.
I gotta ask, why is it Disc Golf United and not Disc Golf Scene?
Disc Golf United is Innova affiliated, and
Gotcha.
I am an Innova ambassador. So,
Gotcha.
you know, I'm
Okay.
proud
Makes sense.
Innova
That makes
ambassador.
a lot more sense.
Right.
I have always wondered that.
Yeah.
So let's talk then. You know, I see the Innova flags at every single event. You know, how did you first interlink with Innova, and how have they been supporting you in all the endeavors that you've been doing outside of physically throwing a disc?
Okay, so just as we talked about first, the very first disc I ever threw was the Innova Stingray. The second disc I ever threw was an Innova Rock, and the third disc I ever threw was an Innova AVR. And I have been throwing them ever since. So how did I get started with Innova? It was, you know, a matter of happenstance because that's all they really sold back then. But to me, as a player, I've been throwing Innova for 30 years, and it's still to this day the best disc in my hand. It feels fantastic. You know, if you look at my bag, minus the new additions like the Destroyer, which is not new at all, but that's one of the newer additions to my bag, they have continued to add items over the long haul that have fit me, and I like the plastic feel and things like that. I to this day, I still feel like Innova makes the best product, and I have become an Innova ambassador for them, and I've been proud to support them and carry that brand for years. And they have backed every single endeavor that I've ever done for players packs, for hot stamped discs, for, you know, sponsoring the Kansas Disc Sports Scholarship Foundation, which we should talk about.
We should.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on and on and on. They are always behind me. I couldn't be more proud to be on that team, and I look forward to them supporting every single keeper in the future.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I do have one question for everyone out there that maybe thought of it. I definitely thought of it. What is your all-time favorite disc?
The only disc in that could ever fall into that would be the Rock.
The Rock?
The
Not
Rock.
the Rock 3, just the Rock?
The Rock. I mean, there are different endeavors for the Rock. I mean, the Rock X3, I throw a Rock 3. The one that most people don't carry anymore is a classic Rock, which is a flat top looking putter-ish like rock. I carry one of those as well. It's the straightest flying disc that you can throw.
How many rocks would you say are in your bag right now?
5, at least.
At least. So there's like a range of 5 to 10.
If I'm pulling a cart, if I'm pulling a cart, there's 5 to 7.
Okay.
Okay. If I'm not pulling a cart, there's 3 to 5, depending upon the size of the bag I'm carrying. Okay.
So for those newer players who are trying to fill out their bag, why should they put 5 of the same disc in their bag?
The way I feel about that is it's the same disc in your hand. You have the comfort of that feel. Okay. It's the matter of wear on that disc that makes it fly in different directions. You know, if it's if it's brand new, it's going to be a little bit more overstable. If it's nice and worn in, it's going to be very straight. And if it's if it's your baby, it's nice and christened, and you know exactly how it's going to fly. So that's why I carry more than one rock and more than one T-bird and more than one destroyer. So, the best discs that I have, I carry more than one for that exact reason.
And how do you go about getting them? Obviously, there's like playing and just overall they wear out. How do you go about getting these 5 or 6 rocks throughout? What's your process like of, cycling the discs in and out of your bag to keep them?
I use the term squirrely.
Squirrely?
Yeah, when they get too squirrely, they gotta go. Okay, that's really what it is. When I don't know exactly what the disc is going to do out of my hand, it's got to go. And so that's generally by use. Okay. Sometimes out of your hand you get an extremely overstable version of whatever disc or an extremely understable version, and if you want to play with it, then do. But otherwise, I always suggest that a person buy 2 to 5 of the same putter.
Yeah,
same,
for sure.
That way that their putting skills and are all along the same line of that same putter that they like. Now, I don't expect them to do that the very first day they start,
right.
But once they've found the putter that feels good in their hand, you need more than one of that exact putter at that exact weight to be able to practice, regularly.
This is one question I've always had when I've thought about and looked at discs, and specifically putters. How much do you think the weight plays a factor in how the disc is going to fly? Because I putt with EMAC judges, and
okay.
I don't think I've ever paid attention to what the weight are when I buy them. So, what kind of does it really matter, or is it just a?
Oh, it matters. I mean, a couple years back in 2014, I went to the Japan Open. I had to putt with a 150 gram putter, and you had to learn how to re-putt. Okay, and so my process for that was to change my entire bag for 6 months to 150 gram discs. Yes, you have to adjust to that weight. Now, do they have the same stability? No, I don't believe that they do. Okay, can you finesse your arm and make your body used to a 150 gram disc? Yes, of course you can. But I would suggest you don't have 375 gram putters and 250 gram putters. I just don't think that would work well for most people.
So would there be? So I totally agree on the 150 versus the 170 plus. But like if you have a 175 that you putt with constantly, and then you have a 170 or 168, do you think there's a very much variance between
those?
Flight?
I've always found that there's a minor difference in stability.
Okay.
In fact, my long putter is a DX AVR. It's 171 DX AVR for outside of 35 feet, and it because it flies nice and straight for that distance. And at the very end, when it slows down, it dies a little bit left. It's not. I wouldn't call it overstable by any stretch, but it does finish left, and minus the Kansas wind or any, outstanding factors.
And so, do you use a heavier one 30 feet in?
I use a 175 Yeti,
okay.
Yeti Pro AVR,
okay.
Which for those of us in Kansas, I'm a spin putter, and it's this wind will really affect your disc. The Yeti is mildly overstable, I feel, in this wind, and it holds that line really straight. So.
I think that's an interesting point I've never thought about using 2 different types of putters or 2 different weights depending on the distance, and I might need to give it a shot. And if you try it out there, let us know.
I mean, for putters, I truly have never once looked at the weight because I feel like I can't find anything under 170 in the first place. So to me, when putting, there's not a huge difference from 170 to 175. I think the bigger difference, because of my skill level, is all up here. It's all in the noggin. It's not the disc's fault. It's going to be my fault that I miss. So when we look at other discs, you know, the rocks, are those different plastics, are those different weights? You know, what would be a good playing weight? You know, what if I'm brand new to the game, if I've been playing for 3 months, 6 months, what kind of disc should I be looking for, plastic, weight? You know, what would be a good recommendation to go into a shop like yours? What should I be looking for?
When we have brand new players come in, which happens all the time, I suggest that they buy 3 discs to start. You know, a putter, a mid-range or a fairway, and a low-speed driver. Okay, for us, a lot of times we'll promote the Roadrunner. It's an easy-to-throw driver. Okay, and the weight is based upon, you know, how far the person. I wouldn't say just guys, because we have a lot of female players now. We have how far this person feels like they can get a 175 out there. If the person is more comfortable with a lighter weight disc, of course we're going to promote that. The mid-range disc, a lot of times we'll promote something like the Mako 3, a very straight flyer, a very easy to throw mid-range. And then, you know, to me, the best starting putter is the AVR. It's super straight. So those are the 3 discs that we try and put in people's hands right away. As you'll notice, nothing's overstable, okay? It makes it easier for them to throw that particular disc. Now, granted, some people don't like the feel of Innova discs, the plastic or whatever. So we have a complete selection of different companies as well that we can follow kind of that pattern from different companies as well.
I can attest to literally one of my first, I don't know, it was probably right when I really got back into it. I don't remember what, I think I was putting with a harp.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, we've all been there.
Hey, I'm no judging, man.
I'm pretty sure I walked into the Oak shop or the Riverside shop, and I was like, I don't remember exactly what I said. I said something along the lines of, my putter doesn't really stay in the air that long and it always finishes left, or something like that. What would you recommend? And lo and behold, DX AVR was handed to me. I said, ooh, that feels pretty good. And then I think I have like 15 of them.
Yeah.
Jeez,
but I've switched.
You switched over to the
I wanted a little bit more stability now.
Which
I don't want a harp.
Which flies really well in the Kansas wind.
Right.
Okay. You know, I mean, and those things all fluctuate depending upon your location, on the elevation, on the outside conditions. Those, you know, and most importantly, to me, the most important thing about picking out your putter is what feels good in your hand, what puts the potential to make it between your ears.
Right.
Okay. Good putters, bad putters, everybody all throws, you know, some sort of putt at this basket. You have to finish this game. You know, the guys that are confident behind their putter, those are the ones that I like to watch, because I don't care what putter they're throwing. You know, they are really good at putting that particular piece of plastic in those pieces of metal over there, and that is mostly through confidence, and that's caused by the putter that they've chosen a lot of times.
Yeah, and if we're talking about confidence, if we're talking about mental game, and we're talking about putting, I have to talk about Disc.USA. Disc.USA is one of the best products that you can use to improve your mental game while putting, because you can spend $20 on another AVR if you want, or you can spend $20 on a couple of disc dots, and you can actually learn to aim at a chain link in your brain. And this, you've started to use them also, so tell me if I'm wrong, but for me, when I have that chain link highlighted right there, I get the confidence and the repetition to continue to hit that over and over, to when I go out to the course, I don't need it there because I know what I'm aiming at, and I don't think about anything. The mental goes away. You just focus, you putt, and you repeat. I think it's a fantastic product. You can use promo code Chain Clankers, save yourself 10%. Just try it out. I'm telling you, the next time you're thinking about buying a putter, just pick up a disc dot. Try that for a little bit. If you don't like it, just give it to somebody else and go get that putter anyways. It's a fantastic investment. It's improved my putt. I mean, a year ago,
Right.
Even when we first got going, there's a couple of videos out there that we've done where I had to say, stay positive because my putting was broke, right? And then I use this more, and I have never felt like a better putter than I do right now. But that's enough with the plug there.
Yeah.
I think we should answer some fan questions
Fair
before
enough.
we get out of here on
Fair
the
enough.
Facebook page. This is something that, when we're doing these interviews, we want to have you guys interact as well. So if you have any questions, I hopefully this is going well enough that we'll have you out again.
I'd love to. I'd love to.
So, if you have more questions, leave them on YouTube. Comment down below on this video. If you've enjoyed what we're doing so far, if you like the live setup, let us know. We can make more of these things happen. We just have to know that you guys want to see these. So leaving those like ratings on YouTube like you've been doing on the challenge videos. We see you over there. We do appreciate you guys doing that. But let's go ahead. Let's get to some of the fan questions here.
Aaron
Noel.
Good, thanks. I was about to say it. Am I
So
yeah. How many tournaments have you played and won, and how long have you played? And we already talked about that. We'll talk about that. How many tournaments have you played and won?
How many tournaments have I played
First
and won?
and then won. Yeah.
I couldn't answer either of those with any amount of confidence. I've played so many tournaments, and I've won quite a few. So when you consider my first tournament was in 1988, I couldn't tell you a number. I'm sorry. That's a question I just can't answer. Too many, probably. If you're my wife, it's probably too many.
Right.
Okay.
I hear that.
Yeah.
So we had a really good question from David Feltz. Shout out David. He was on the podcast earlier. If you want to get better at playing in those woods out there, you might want to listen to that episode. But we kind of talked about a lot of it already. He asked, what made you decide to open a store, and what do you think has made those shops successful? You talked about the family aspect earlier on, so we've kind of hit on that. So there's another question here from Jason Zimmerman.
Okay.
He asks, how has the clap expansion been overall, and what made you decide to expand into Kansas City? Also, how wonderful has it been trying to organize with the city on putting in new Clap East course?
So what made us decide to go to Clap? Is that the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Clap was a partnership with the city of Wichita because they were closing a ball golf course. They wanted somebody to come in and assist with maintaining and keeping up this ball golf course and utilizing the space. So what made us decide on that was it was an incredible opportunity for disc golf in the city of Wichita. Okay, of course we thought it would be a profitable expansion of our business, and the city of Wichita thought it would be a nice addition to build this into kind of a disc golf complex. So those are the three main factors of why we chose to do this. The second piece was asking about Kansas City. Kansas City traditionally had shops on the north end, on the Missouri side of the river, but hasn't had one for several years. I worked with an old friend of mine who is working for us up in Kansas City, who I also traveled and played Ultimate with, and we decided that it was there was opportunity near Waterworks, which again is one of my favorite golf courses, to put in a shop up in North Kansas City. And we decided that about 2 months ago, we were going to just go ahead and open one. And of course, that took about 1.5 years to make that happen. Right, so that's why that occurred. Last part of that question?
I think we...
Did we cover it all?
No, the last part of that is just how wonderful has it been working with the city of Wichita?
You know, the bureaucracy that people kind of think happens with the cities didn't really occur with us. Yes, we had to jump through all the legal hoops. So the front end of that was somewhat difficult because we had to get approved by, first of all, the city of Wichita has a golf board. So we had to get approved by them to come in. And then we had to get approved by city council. And then we had to get approved by the Parks and Rec department. So the front end of this was difficult. Okay. But once we got past all those hurdles, they have been, and even throughout that, the city of Wichita has been fantastic. I have no problems, and we continue to work with them along with the Air Capital Disc Golf Club to make sure that we're building this all so the players in the city of Wichita can really enjoy it.
That's fantastic. That is great to hear. I got a good one from Lucas Steele,
Nice.
he's been on the episode.
Yeah, Luke.
He's been on the
Lucas.
podcast as well, so shout out
Yep.
to Lucas.
Okay.
All right, and then this kind of ties in nicely with what we just talked about a little bit too. So he asked, you've mentioned doing all you can to bring Worlds or the national tour to Wichita. What does Wichita need to make that happen, and does competing with Emporia make that impossible?
I'm going to answer the second part first.
Okay.
We're not really competing with Emporia. Okay, Emporia, as many of you know, Dynamic Disc is in Emporia. They're good friends of Ducks. Okay, so that we're not competing with them on that level. They run the Dynamic Discs Open, which is the biggest tournament in the entire world, as last I knew, and they do a fantastic job of it. If we were going to go, and which we will with the Air Capital Disc Golf Club and the City of Wichita, eventually go after some of these bigger tournaments, when that occurs, I feel like they would end up being a partner with us versus somebody we're competing against. So,
Love to hear that.
So, answering the second part first. Now, can you repeat the first part of that question?
So first part, what does Wichita need to make these things happen? Sorry.
So, Wichita has already done a lot of the footwork to building that. Many of the partners in the city of Wichita have started to work together in a really great manner. Ducks, Heisernaut, So Mint are all entities, and of course the Air Capital Disc Golf Club are all entities here in the city of Wichita that have been beginning to really work together to build things like the Air Capital Disc Golf Club series. That is
I love that.
a series
Yeah, it's nice.
of tournaments
Yes.
that really helps local players play competitive C-tier events here in the city. And so that growth of that partnership is part of the groundwork necessary to be able to run tournaments at that level, at that professional level. Now, the next thing that I think that we as a city need to do is really focus on, and I think the Air Capital has done a great job of this, upgrading our actual physical hardware and upgrading our golf courses,
Right.
including what they've already done with working with tee signs, working with tee boxes, just making everything professional
Right.
is the right word.
Yep.
So the process is multiple years, and we have multiple partners working on that process. So, given a little more patience, we'll be able to make some kind of request for those kind of tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the improvements already. We've seen Millbrook get new baskets. Herman Hill's looking at getting new baskets. T signs everywhere.
Coleridge West.
Coleridge West is
East.
Literally,
Imagine
Coleridge,
a combo. of that
Yeah,
for
I mean
like a
that
pro
could be
tour event.
that could be awesome. So our next question here comes from Paul Lee. He asks, "What is one of the hardest lessons in the disc golf business that you've had to learn? How has that experience shaped your business philosophy?"
I would say the hardest lesson that you need to learn when you're taking on an endeavor like a disc golf business, whether it's a manufacturer, which I can't really speak to because I don't manufacture anything, but a retailer, tournament directors, whatever, is understanding that you probably are not going to make everybody happy. Okay? You have to be able to go to bed at night making your best effort. Okay? It's really tough. It's really difficult, and we as a community are both very grateful and demanding. So when you go to the tournaments as prospective players, when you go to the tournaments, just thank the staff, okay? Because most of the people that work on these tournaments are volunteering their time for you. When it comes to running a business like this, do your very best, but understand that budget constraints are a real deal in a retail business, and you might have to grow organically for a little while to reach your goals. But don't lose sight of the fact that you're still in a growing process. Unless you just have gobs of money, it's going to take a while to grow to the level that you want to be. So don't put yourself through too much stress over being able to grow on the time frame that you set for yourself.
That's some great advice, and Quentin and I, we talk about this all the time with the Chain Clankers, because we're trying to continue to grow steady, and we say just trust the process. Trust the process.
Joel Embiid, baby, trust the process.
We look at a video, we're like, ooh, trust the process.
Yeah.
Trust the process.
Surely that everybody who is doing anything similar to what we're all doing can always look back at the very beginning and go, man, I would have made a different decision today.
Right.
So, do your very best, put your best effort out there, and trust the fact that we have some really good brothers and sisters who are playing this game to enjoy it.
Couldn't agree more. All right, I got a good one, and this one is, I just want to hear this story. So Nick Hunt asks, who got you superstitious about touching putters before your partner shoots?
Okay, so this is in doubles. Okay. So we're playing. Great friend of mine, downtown Randy Brown. Most everybody doesn't know this person, but great guy. I hope I get.
I like the nickname.
Yeah. I hope he gets a plug. We went to national doubles when this was a thing years and years ago. Okay, and he and I were playing really, really well, and we were playing on a card, and I want to tell you that on the card was Ken Climo and Dave Greenwell.
Oh wow.
Okay. And touching your putter prior to your partner putting showed a lack of confidence in that putt. So that superstition, I was the tail end of that at some point, and it has stuck with me ever since. If you want to putt first, if you happen to be my partner, I won't touch my putter until you putt. I believe you're going to make it. I have the most confidence in you in the entire world. If it's a death putt over the Grand Canyon, I believe you're still going to make it. So
I like that.
Yeah, that's a good one. And I think that's one of those things, you guys host the random flip doubles at Oak every Wednesday night.
Every Wednesday.
I think that's something that if you go to something like that, it's not on the same stage, obviously.
Right.
But, I think something important about that is because it's random people and you kind of have to be a team, you want everyone to feel included, you want them to feel good about coming out, and they want to continue to come out.
Right.
If you're a halfway decent putter, maybe they're not. I don't know, give them that little jolt of confidence. Don't even grab your putter. Always continue to lift your partner up anytime you can. So I think that was great. I think this was a fantastic episode. I know I learned a lot. Hopefully you guys learned a lot as well. If you have, make sure you're hitting that like button on YouTube, as well as you are hitting the follow, subscribe button, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Getting close to 100 reviews on Spotify. Big giveaway coming when that happens. I think we're like 4 away. So
that's pretty awesome.
So come on, let's do that. And thank you to all of those Patreon supporters. We definitely appreciate everything you're doing. Before we get out of here, last thing, Duck, where can people continue to connect with you, follow your disc golf journey? We intend to have you on again and hopefully do some more stuff, but where can people continue to follow your brand?
Probably the best place to follow us is on Facebook at Ducks Flying Discs. We're also on Instagram. We have Ducks Flying Discs here, Ducks Flying Discs Kansas City. Reach out to us. If you want to just give us a call, we can find us on the internet, anything like that. We're happy to talk to anybody that wants to talk about disc golf.
Heck yeah. And also, don't forget to go to Disc Golf United and get signed up for the Keeper this year. Especially if you're in the region, definitely do it. If you're within, I don't know, if you want to make the trip, let's check out this Wichita
come play with
disc
us.
golf scene.
Yeah,
come play with us. Let us know. Actually, that's a good point. DM us on Instagram if you are coming to the Keeper and you're not
if you
from the
come
area.
to the Keeper, DM us. We'll play a round of disc golf, assuming time allows. But there you go. I'll put a link in the description below. Make sure you check it out. It's an awesome event. You'll probably beat me at it. You'll definitely beat Trent at it. So.
100%. Yeah, if you watch the video where I shank one, yeah, you'll see why. But
thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you guys next week.